In this video, we're taking a look at the brand new gear that has just been announced by Apple in their big September event. Yes, we have new iPads, new iPad minis, and the new iPhone 13. So we're going to dive into that in just a moment. Now, this video is going to be in 3 parts. There's timestamps in the description if you're here on the replay. The first part's going to be a very quick overview. If you're like, just the facts, Pete, I don't want any of the other rigmarole, just tell me what happened, that's the next 5 minutes. We're then going to jump into a deep dive for those that want a little bit more info, and then we're going to finish off with some Q&A and your opinions if you're here live. So strap in, it's going to be a fun one. So what did we get? Well, number one thing, we got a brand new iPad. So this is the vanilla iPad, the 9th generation of the iPad, the 2021 version. It is available from $329. And the good news there is that it actually upgraded to 64 gigabytes of storage instead of 32. So for creators, that's a good thing. So the absolute base model iPad. And this thing, I'm not going to lie to you, it's actually pretty good. My daughter owns the 2020 version of this. The 2021 version is just building upon that. You've got a 10.2-inch screen and a Retina display there. You've got an A13 Bionic chip, which is super fast. It's going to be 20% faster. Apple love their percentage fasters. It's going to run iPad OS 15. It's got the front camera now with the 20 megapixel and that center stage that Apple added recently, which is that ability to track your face when you're doing FaceTime and that sort of thing, and Zoom calls. You got the True Tone display there, and you can order it right now, and it's going to ship next week. Could they be more vague? Maybe not. So that's the new iPad generic. We also got, the little tacker. The iPad mini is back, and it's actually better than ever. This thing packs a punch. We were hoping we would get something like this. It is based around the iPad Air 4th generation, which means it's got that larger display there that's almost to the borders. It's an 8.3 inch instead of the old 7.9 inch liquid Retina display, and it definitely is redesigned based on that iPad Air 4th gen. It's got the A15 Bionic chip in there, which is an absolute powerhouse. So if you're a creator, you're working on audio or music or video or photos, this thing is going to fly along for you. USB-C, which means we do forego the headphone jack. Yeah, so that's gone. We've got the Touch ID on the button now. So just like the iPad Air 4th generation, your Touch ID, no home button, Touch ID on the button. So no Face ID, but you still got that Touch ID on the button. You got 5G in there, stereo speakers in landscape mode, and it supports the Apple Pencil 2, which I didn't mention about the iPad. That only supports the Apple Pencil 1 still at this stage. So for a creator, if you're a creator on the go, this thing, if you don't want to go a phone, you want to go the iPad route, the iPad mini is looking pretty appealing. We got new Apple Watches. You can hit pause. I have an Apple Watch. I use an Apple Watch. Is it really relevant for creators? Not really. I guess it's you can check your messages from your bandmates on the go. Look, Apple Watches are what they are. And like I say, hit the pause button there or jump over to apple.com if you want to find out more about that one. And last but not least, we got some new iPhones. Yeah, the iPhone 13. We got the 13 mini and the 13 there from $699 and $799 respectively. And you get all of this business. Once again, you get the A15 Bionic chip, which is Apple's latest and greatest. You get a bigger battery, a smaller notch. The cameras have been improved, and the video is 4K at 60 frames per second. And they've brought over the image stabilization from the iPhone Pro Max 12. So if you are on the fence like me, so here's the thing. I bought the iPhone 12 Pro. The only thing that made me want to go for the Max was that image stabilization. I didn't because I don't like the larger phone. Now, you can actually have a smaller phone with the image stabilization. So it's not a huge upgrade. Let's be really honest about this. And the biggest change there is they changed the buttons. They changed those cameras to be diagonal instead of vertical. Why? Well, so that you can walk around rocking the iPhone 12 and people won't think you've got that yucky old iPhone 12. You can lock the 13, people won't think you've got the 12. And finally, last but not least, we have the iPhone 13 Pro from $999, or the Pro Max, the bigger one, from $1099. There's your spec sheet. You've got 6.1 inch on the Pro, 6.7 inch on the Pro Max. All new cameras, 3 of them again, and again, the same sort of layout there, so no different from the version that we've got here. So, I'm a bit surprised by that. I thought they'd maybe just rotate them or something, but no, they're all the same. You've got the biggest changes here is around the cameras and around the video mode. You've got cinematic mode for video, and they've incorporated ProMotion into this one, which is the Apple technology they use for 120 hertz. So what it does is it changes the refresh rate based on what's happening on the screen. They have it on the iPad Pros. It works really well. So I'm actually pretty excited. If there's one feature that I think is cool about this one, it's the ProMotion display there on the the iPhone Pro. And this is what the iPhone lineup now looks like. There is no more 10. So if you're like me and you're rocking an old 10S here, that's out the door. No more. So everything from the iPhone SE through the 11, 12, and now the new line of 13s are available there. So that is the crux of it. That's what happened, and that's what you need to know. There you go. 5 minutes, and we're done. What else, though? Well, there's a heap else that we're going to go into here. What is my overall view on this one? Well, it's not a massive upgrade. It's not a massive update to anything. The iPads I'm more excited about than the iPhones. To be honest, the iPhone 12 to 13 jump is not particularly huge. The iPad to iPad jump is a little bit better because you got that A13 Bionic processor in there. That's going to make things like GarageBand and LumaFusion fly along. And then the iPad mini, that's the dark horse of this one. And we'll talk about that in a moment as we dive into this stuff. So the iPad mini has got itself a significant upgrade. And it's really meaning that for creators, USB-C is now in the iPad Pro, the iPad Air, and the iPad mini. So 3 of the 4 different models of iPad all have USB-C, which means Lightning is kind of on its way out from a creator perspective, in my opinion. Hello to the folks who are here live. I hope you are doing well. Yeah, as Jade says, this is an S update from the past. It's a half, isn't it? It's the off year. Let's be honest about that. It's definitely the off year. Hello to Gary Hubbs. Hello, Ashley. Hello to Thomas Christ. Wish the iPhone would do ProMotion for me. Yeah, I know. Wish they would be backwards compatible. Hello to Rhett. Hello to Min. I hope you are all doing well. We will get to the Q&A section in a moment, but for now, I'm going to jump in and we're going to look at some deep dive details of all of this. And when I say deep dive, I'm not going to be here for an hour and a half saying lots of superlatives like beautiful displays and stunning graphics. We're going to cut to the chase and we're going to get into it. But if you want to know a little bit more, this is your time to shine. So let me just bring up my other presentation here. I'll just present this one using Canva, by the way, which is a great little app for doing little things like this. We are in full screen mode there. We'll bring this one up here and go back a notch. All right. Drum roll, please. Here we go. So, the Apple September event. Now, I watched the whole hour and a half, so you didn't have to, and I'm going to break it down here in around about 20 minutes. So, strap in, because there's a lot to get through. I'll bring up my notes here so we can talk through all of the things here. So, at the very start, Tim Cook got up there and he talked about the fact that it was called California streaming. So, he said, Apple TV is great, and Ted Lasso's a great show, and you should watch more Apple TV. Fair call. Then we dived into the stuff that we actually wanted to hear. So it took about 10 minutes to get to this part, which is, yeah, the new iPad. So the A13 Bionic, that's the chip, and it is actually a really good chip. So for just a standard, just an iPad, having the A13 on board is going to really help creators out. They talked about the fact that it's going to be 20% faster, that there's going to be camera upgrades in this thing, that it's going to be good for things like that you can see there, like your learning, because it's got the better front-facing camera, so that you've got more ability to do your Zooming and your schooling and your online learning. Not surprising considering where we are in the world at the moment. It does have the True Tone display, which is actually pretty nice. It means it'll adjust your display for when you're indoors and outdoors, which is kind of cool. And it's got a support for the Apple Pencil 1. So it still doesn't have Apple Pencil 2 support. That is available on the iPad Pros and the new iPad Mini and the iPad Air 4, but just the Apple Pencil 1 for the iPad. As we mentioned, it's $329. You can order it now, and it's available next week. All these iPads are available next week. The iPhone, which I didn't actually mention, is available to pre-order in a couple of days' time, and it's going to ship out on the 24th of September, which is just around the corner. So not too long to wait if you are hanging out for your new iPhone goodness. There's your spec sheet. So again, hit pause if you want to check out the specs there, but that just goes through all of the different things that you have on there that we talked about in the summary at the start. One thing I did notice is that they talked a lot about everything was 20% faster and 50% faster and 60% better. The bigger battery in this is actually good. So extended battery life across all of these products is one of the things that I think they're doing well. They're realizing that people are super frustrated with battery and they want their batteries to last longer. So that is one thing I'm pretty happy about. That is your iPad. What about your iPad mini? Actually, yeah, we'll go through all these and then we'll do the review of the pricing at the end. So your iPad mini, as you can see, it's a new design. It's a completely new look from what we've had in the past. The iPad mini used to look like a mini version of your standard iPad. It now looks like this. There's all your colors because of course you need colors because why would you only want things to be silver or gray unless you're me? You've got your Touch ID. So this is going to be a bit of a change here because no more home button. So the iPad is now the last device, and as well as the iPhone SE, the last current device that has a touch home button. Now you've got that touch button on the top there. In that will do your Touch ID. So no Face ID, Touch ID on the top. CPU performance 40% faster, GPU performance 80% faster. So again, a lot of those numbers there. But remember, this is compared to a 2019 iPad. So the iPad mini hasn't been updated for a while. So those numbers look good, but you're going from like the A11, I think it was in the old iPad, up to the A13. So it's not surprising that you're getting much better support. 5G support. Anyone excited about this, by the way? I didn't even mention it in the overview because I don't use cellular on my iPad. I just tether it to my phone and I turn off 5G because it drains my battery and I'd never need anything that fast, but maybe that's just me. USB-C we talked about. So we've gone away from Lightning. We're now into USB-C for the iPad mini, which is actually pretty cool. It means that for audio and video folks, you don't need the Lightning to USB 3 adapter anymore. You can use all sorts of little hubs and devices like the one I've got here from Atola. Anything with a USB-C connector is going to work for you and allow you to connect up all your devices. And it does manage power a lot better than Lightning does as well. And it just means that you're not stuck in that Apple ecosystem. You can use any USB device and any USB-C device, which is pretty cool. I just noticed there that this was the one showing of anything related to video in the whole thing. And I think it's actually iMovie. I don't think that's even LumaFusion. But this is all that we got for creators in terms of music. GarageBand wasn't shown or mentioned. Video creation, it was very much a consumption heavy. But again, you didn't get the iPad Pro, so I guess that makes sense. But I think this would actually be a great little creator tool for doing video editing. I mean, I edit videos in LumaFusion on my iPhone 12 Pro. So if I wanted something a little bit bigger screen and I was editing videos, I think the iPad mini, the new version, would actually be pretty darn cool. We've got stereo speakers, which I don't think we've talked about before, but yeah, so if it's in landscape mode, it can play stereo through its speakers. Look, the speakers are not great. I think they use words like studio quality. You and I both know that ain't no studio quality, but for a tablet, it's pretty good. I must admit, the iPad Pro speakers are pretty good. The iPad mini speakers look like they're going to be pretty good. Don't know what I was talking about here. I don't know why I have that picture there, or this one here. I think that was the Apple Pencil. Yeah, so the Apple Pencil 2 that magnetizes to the side and charges up, that's pretty cool. I was talking to my daughter this morning because she has the iPad, last year's, and the Apple Pencil, and it's a pain in the butt because you've got to plug it in and charge it. This one here, you can just stick it to the side and it'll magnetize and charge up. Whole bunch of different accessories and cases, because of course there are, because it's a brand new size, so you're going to need yourself new cases even if you have an iPad mini. And as we talked about, $499 for your base model, which is a 64 gigabyte, and then it goes on up from there, and there's all your specs with all your percentages. And of course, all of these will run the new iOS 15 or iPad OS 15, which is just about ready to rock and roll. That will be out very soon. So we'll continue on here. We have a watch. We have the Apple Watch. Again, hit the pause button if you want to look at all the specs there. It's the Series 7. I have the Apple Watch SE. I think it's the best value at the moment. You can still get the Series 3, the entry-level one, and as well as the Series 6, and they're all available. Oh, sorry, no, Series 6 is gone. Series 7 replaces Series 6. Series 3 is still there for your entry-level, and SE sits in the middle there. If you want an Apple Watch, there's new ones, and they do pretty much the same thing. The face is slightly larger. It's slightly bigger. Let's talk iPhones, shall we? iPhone 13. What have we got with the new iPhone? Well, it looks different. It's got the diagonal lenses, and as I said in the preview, why does it have diagonal lenses? Well, so it looks different from last year's, because otherwise, how will people know that you have the latest? How can you flex on your friends and show that you've got the latest and greatest if it looks exactly like theirs from last year? You can't. So you need those diagonals, and maybe someone will even mistake yours for a Pro. No, I joke and I jest, but that's basically the reason. Because the actual design, the industrial design of this thing is almost identical, except for that camera placement, which makes no difference. The notch is slightly smaller. I didn't even mention this in the overview because, in my opinion, it's not smaller enough to even be a feature. But I think they said it was 20% smaller in the notch there. Maybe it is. Who knows? It's what else did they say here? They've got a bigger battery in there, and they're using a lot more recycled materials. So they did talk a lot about the usage of resources and of materials and how they put it together. I always like these diagrams, these like skeleton diagrams that we get here. So this is you can see there the battery, which is now the majority of the phone because everything else is kind of crammed in there. And of course, there's no room for a headphone jack because you got too much stuff going on in there to begin with. There's your screen. So they talked a lot about the screen and the brightness measured in nits, and it's Apple's custom OLED display that they call their Super Retina as opposed to their Liquid Retina because you need differences. But you got HDR there in the display, XDR, a whole bunch of other acronyms that can make you feel good about your purchase. There's all of your CPU and GPU numbers and diagrams and neural engine things that you can look at and, again, feel good about the fact that you've spent upwards of $1,000 on a phone. It takes good videos and takes good photos because we got some new cameras here. Those diagonal cameras really make all the difference. So what's the difference? Well, there's got a slightly larger sensor in there. And if you know about cameras, you know that it's not about the megapixels generally. It's about the size of the sensor. So a larger sensor in your phone is going to get you better quality shots. That's a very layperson simple version of that, but it works. This is kind of interesting. We've got this sort of bokeh thing going on here for your pictures, and when we get to the iPhone Pro, we'll talk about what they've done with video because there's some new cinematic video modes in the iPhone Pro that we'll talk about. You've also got a new ultra wide sensor, ultra wide camera there with a new faster sensor. They talked about the new A15 Bionic chip being able to process the image signal processor is highly upgraded, and you've got that 5-element lens with a 120-degree field of view. There's a whole bunch of stuff about it. Yeah, it's good. It's about the same as last year, but a little better. As Jade said before, it's the S version, yeah? It's what we used to call the iPhone 5S or 6S. These days, they're like, no, people don't want that because they don't feel good about having a 12S. We'll call it a 13 because they'll feel like they've got something more modern if it's got a bigger number. Battery life is improved, 2.5 hours longer than iPhone 12. It is what it is. And once again, there's your overall specs that you've got there. Longer battery life, you've got your XDR, you've got your different designs and different colors that you can get in there. It's all a pile of goodness. Moving right along. Oh, yeah. I thought this was funny. They said, what was the exact quote? MagSafe has been a hit. Anyone out there that actually has ever used anything MagSafe, please put up your hand, because the new MagSafe, I looked at the accessories, I looked at the batteries and the covers and the wallets, and they look bad, and they seem to be really annoying and dysfunctional. So I don't own anything MagSafe, but apparently, according to Apple, they've been a hit. Go figure. There's your prices, $6.99 and $7.99, and we'll deep dive into the pricing of all this stuff over on apple.com in just a moment. Right, let's get our Pro on, shall we? It is time for the iPhone 13 Pro. There you go. It comes in 4 colors now because blue. And they were so excited about this new blue, this new, what did they call it? I can't even remember. Not neural blue. It was something like that. It comes in blue now. The notch that they've mentioned again is, yeah, there it is again. The notch is 20% smaller. I don't see much of a difference, but hey, smaller is better. When they get rid of it, come and talk to me about it. They've got the 3 new cameras that we were showing there before, and look, they're the same placement. They look the same, but they do better things. Larger sensors, and with the A15 Bionic, you've got a better image signal processor. There is your layout there. Look at that one. You've got an L shape there on the battery this time around. That's pretty cool. And you've got the Super Retina XDR display again, like you do on the iPhone 12. There's your A15 chip and all the good things. Sorry, hit pause if you want to read about that. All of this stuff's over at apple.com. You'll be fine. 120 hertz display. So this one is interesting. The ProMotion display that they talked about here is actually pretty interesting. So as I mentioned on the iPad Pro, so I have here the first iPad Pro that had the motion. What was it called? What did I just say? Super motion. I forget all of their different motion flow. No, super Pro motion display. Thank you. So the iPad Pro has had Pro motion display since this one, the 2020 model, and across the 2021 models of the iPad Pro. And now Pro motion comes to the iPhone. So the iPhone Pro has Pro motion. Also has some ultra wide camera there, and there's the specs of the ultra wide camera. This is pretty cool. It actually has macro photography functionality. If you're a photographer, if you've been into taking photos, macro lenses are usually like very large lenses that you can actually like get close up. So they've finally got the sensors big enough to actually do macros, so a minimum of 2 centimeters that you can get from the object, and you can take some very nice macro photography. Not like that. That's not macro, but that's yeah. Photographic styles is also in there that that I mentioned briefly before. So you've got a bunch of different options in there. Basically, just presets. So just presets that you have there of different types that you can take. Whether you want it really vibrant or whether you want it a little bit darker and moodier, you can use those. So it's like you can customize them, and it's like, well, yeah, but they're presets. But I guess you can customize your presets. Video this is something that I think is going to be interesting, and the video changes that they have here, Dolby Vision HDR for all your videos, and the changes of depth. So you're going to be able to control your depth of your video. Did I take a screenshot of that? I'm not sure if I did. Battery life is improved. We've sort of already talked about that. Yeah, so this ProRes video that they have is going to actually improve. There's the battery life again. Is going to actually improve things. Well, I didn't get a photo of it. I didn't take a screenshot of that one, but the ability to do this video that's going to have your different blurriness. So it's going to use, what do they call it? That rack focus, where you actually focus in and out on different things. And it's actually pretty cool technology that if you got two faces, it looks at where the face is looking, and then it will change the focus to that other face. Hey, if you're going to be impressed by something, that's reasonably impressive. So I kind of dug that. It's got longer battery life because it's got that bigger, chunkier battery. They talked about all of their targets for recycled, which is, look, it's super important to me. As an old hippie, I want to make sure that we're not, destroying the planet just so that we can have shiny new phones. So, yeah, using more recycled gear, trying to be carbon neutral, and using all the recycled gold and all the precious metals that they use in there. And interestingly, they said that they're not going to be wrapping it in plastic anymore, which is interesting. I'm not quite sure how Apple are going to box their stuff without that outer layer of plastic. But hey, there's smarter engineers than me working behind the scenes on this stuff. There's your differences. There's all your stuff for your iPhone Pro 13. And there is your lineup. You've got your iPhone SE, your 11, your 12, your 13, and your 13 Pro. So you've got yourself a whole bunch of options there, and you can choose what you go with. So my question for you, what do you think? Is this a significant update? No, not really. But if you're waiting, there's no negative to this. So there's nothing that's changed here. Probably the biggest negative if you're an iPad mini fan is you lose your headphone jack and you get USB-C. So if you've got a bunch of Lightning gear and you are hanging out for the new mini, then you're going to have to change that over and start using USB-C. Everything else, though, is just an incremental update. There's no reason to get super excited about this. There's no killer feature in any of these products that are going to make you go out and buy it immediately and sell your second-born child to get one. But they're all just nice to have. They're all just nice updates and nice things to be added to these things. The one thing I did miss, sorry, and Jade's alluded to it here. I've got it noted here. There is a 1 terabyte storage option now. So the 13 Pro Max 1 terabyte is $2,700. So yeah, I thought it was bad. My last phone, even though I paid it off over 2 years, so it's not this, but it was over $2,000 for the iPhone 12 Pro, and now the terabyte model. But a terabyte of storage, I mean, yeah, that's a pretty cool thing. That's not bad. All right, I'm going to sneak in. I was going to do the prices as we went along there, but it's just easier to do it this way around. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump over to apple.com, and let's just look at some of the gear that we have over there. If you were looking to buy, what is the prices of this stuff going to actually be? So if you go to apple.com, you can check this stuff out. There's your iPad. Easy does it all from $329. And you can scroll down there and see all the reasons that we talked about already, why iPad is great for drawing pictures of sushi, because it is. The iPad here, if we wanted to spec one out, we're here on the US site, and obviously prices will vary in different parts of the world. But if we wanted to go with space gray, because you always have to, wait, no, I have a silver one. So here's the difference. It used to be at 32 or 128. You now got 64 gig or 256 gig, which is pretty good. So the base level 64 gig Wi-Fi is $329, as you can see there. If you wanted to update this one to the 256 gig, it's going to set you back a little extra. You are going to pay the grand total sum of, why is it not showing me, $479, which is still a pretty good deal. For under $500 to get a 256 gigabyte iPad. And look, the other good thing about this is that last year's iPad, which is still a powerhouse in terms, if you're just creating in GarageBand or using LumaFusion for your video editing, that thing is still a powerhouse. So what I say about all these events is that the added benefit you get is that last year's model and 2 years ago's model actually go down in price. So if you get yourself a refurbed or a second-hand iPad 8th generation, they're going to be a lot cheaper now because everyone will be grabbing the 9th generation. And I saw that Gary Hubbs at the start of the show said, yeah, he watches these so that in 7 years' time when he upgrades, he knows what to go for. And look, I'm not exactly there. I'm somewhere in between. I haven't bought anything new since my iPhone 12 Pro. I won't be buying an iPhone 13 out of the gate, probably not for another year at least, because there's not enough difference there. And it's the same reason I didn't buy the iPad Pro M1, because there wasn't enough reason to go for it over and above my iPad Pro 2020. So I'm not an every year upgrader. Here's your iPad mini. Look how thin it is. It's so thin, we took away the headphone jack. Yeah, anyway, I'm a little bit bitter about headphone jack still. So there's the iPad mini. There's why it's cool. There's what it can do. There's all of its things that it has. But let's look at the price. Let's talk turkey on this sucker, shall we? Of course, we're going to get the Starlight, because I don't know why I do that. Again, 64 gigabyte, and the Wi-Fi version of this one is 499 US Freedom Eagle dollars. And if you wanted to go for the 256 model, it's going to set you back the grand total of $649. So that's not bad. For what this packs, the punch that this packs for 649 US, that's actually a really good deal. A15 Bionic, USB-C, and a nice 8-inch screen. Remember that it's 8.3 inches now. The original iPads were 9.7. So the minis, the actual screen real estate is getting up near the size of the original iPads. It's only 1.5 inches smaller than your original OG iPad. So it's no slouch. But of course, when you've got a 6.7-inch phone and an 8.3-inch tablet, it's a little bit weird, isn't it? It's the phablet that I think Mark Bro was talking about the other day. The phablet. The iPhone 13, there it is in all its diagonal glory. Let's look at the prices of this sucker. And now a lot of folks don't actually buy things outright, but it gives you a good idea. Because remember, if you're paying it off over time, you're still paying for it. And you need to know the total cost, because what a lot of carriers will do, and a lot of places you're buying it outright, you're buying it over a plan, they just tack on. So they say, oh, pay it off in interest-free installments. But you end up actually paying $1,500 for a $1,000 phone. So check carefully. And if you possibly can, usually the best way to buy a phone is to buy it outright. I don't. Many people don't. But check your carrier, check the details. Make sure you're not paying the convenience tax over and above what you would otherwise. So your 13 mini, you'd get it in red because it goes faster, of course. For the 128 gig model, it's going to start at a price of, connect your own later, at $729. And let's just check the other sizes, because that's the most important thing. 256 bumps it up to $829. 512 bumps it up to $1,029. Dollary-doos. The iPhone 13 with the 6.1-inch display. This time we'll go pink, because why not? Once again, 128 is going to set you back $829, 256 $929, and 512 will be $1,129. So that is your option there. And of course, they're going to try and send you to all the different carriers, and they're going to try and get you trade-ins and rebates. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you want to trade in, that is fine. You will not get market value or even close to market value for your phone. The best way to work it with phones is to sell it separately. If you got like an old iPhone XS, they'd probably give you $200 or $300 if you sold it, whereas you might get yourself $500 or $600 if you on-sold this on Craigslist or eBay or somewhere else, or Facebook Marketplace. So keep that in mind. Doesn't mean that you can't do it, but you're not going to get value. If you want the convenience of doing it, go your hardest. Do it. What about your Pro? Oh, look how shiny these Pros look. Look at that light capturing the Pro. Oh, so Pro. Sorry, I'll stop doing that now. Let's come in and check our pricing of our Pro, shall we? So your standard Pro, which is what I would get because I like the size of the standard Pro, starting at your 128, which is probably too small for a Pro. If you're going to get a Pro device, I don't think 128 gigabytes is really what you're looking for. $9.99, you go up through 256 to $10.99, $12.99, or the 1 terabyte for $14.99. If you want to go the bigger screen, the 6.7-inch Pro Max display, which I think is too big, you're starting at $10.99 and going up to $15.99. So basically add an extra hundy to get that bigger size. Apple Watches are a thing. You can buy one if you want to. They're not really there for creators. The glass is 38% stronger. Yeah, so there's other things like that. Red phones get into 47% more accidents. That's the problem though, isn't it? And they're more expensive to insure. No, not really. So that's the rundown. So there you go. We've gone through the details. We've given you the 5-minute overview. We've gone deep into each different device and seen the changes and the differences. We've looked at the pricing, and now, if you have questions, we can actually go into some Q&A. So I'll jump into the chat here, and if anyone's here live and has any questions, all you need to do is throw it here in the chat, and we'll be happy to answer those for you. Ed Zelinsky says it's the X-File color for those who are hardcore fans. Or is it? Is that blue is the X-File? Carillion blue was a status symbol when artists ground their own pigment. There you go. We've got a lot of blue talk going on there. I think a slate or black would be interesting of those materials the Pro is made of. Yeah, there you go. Macro is the other legit cool feature. True, exactly. Just going to have a quick drink. Yeah, if you use your phone as your camera exclusively, like I do, my SLR is gathering dust because it's better, but it's not better enough. And the more that's the thing, the more that these cameras get enhanced over time, the better they are. The less likely I am to reach for a digital SLR camera or a mirrorless camera or something else because the quality difference, the gap is closed. And I think with this, with the ability to do macro, with the ability to shoot 4K 60 frame per second video using HDR and Dolby Vision and all the other stuff, it's at the point now where I'm not going to be reaching for any camera outside of my phone. Plus, it's right there because I edit on my phone. You've got a full workflow there. I can shoot, if I go out today, and I'll probably shoot some videos while I'm out, I can shoot in 4K and then throw it straight into LumaFusion and then edit directly from the camera roll and then export straight into YouTube and then upload a video. And it doesn't have to leave my phone. And having that sort of workflow is something I think more and more people are wanting to get into. Gary says my phone has lost 30% battery already this stream. There you go. And that's true. The 1 terabyte, if you're going to use ProRes, if you're going to be shooting a bunch of ProRes video at 4K 60 frames a second, you'll need the 1 terabyte. It's going to be a problem. And Ed, that's what I'm hoping to do for you here. I really want to give you all the information you need in 30 minutes that we've had here now. So you don't have to watch all the hype. You don't have to see Tim Cook say how magnificent things are and how splendiferous and all the different percentages. A couple of things that I noticed here is that Apple talked about the competition a lot more this year than they usually do. And I don't know why I found that a bit strange, but they said, when they're talking about the iPad, they said, it's 4 times better than the competition and 8 times better than the closest Android tablet. And I don't know, are people I guess I've drunk the Apple Kool-Aid so heavily that I don't even think about the option that people are probably out there going, oh, do I get a Galaxy Tab or do I get an iPad? And I guess that's actually a thing. So they do need to prove out that and maybe the competition is starting to increase. I don't know. The cookie says, I'm not switching to the new Mini. I'm sad about Lightning and the headphone jack removal. Yeah. And look, there's going to be a small subset of people, mostly us, mostly those in this creator community that are going to be sad about the loss of those things. But the majority are not going to care. And because it comes with a USB-C cable out of the box anyway, it's like everything's going USB, everything except the phone. The phones are staying Lightning, which, I don't know. There was very vague rumors that they might get USB-C. I was almost sure with everything going on in 2020, 2021, they're not going to bother changing from Lightning this year and probably not in the next version. I think we'll be the iPhone 15 at least before we get to that. Question from Mark Bro, would it be worth to upgrade my iPad 2018 because I want to use the pencil or should I wait for the next gen? This is pretty solid, Mark. If you're on the regular iPad, the 2018 to this one, the 2018 was a little underpowered. It still runs GarageBand fine. It still does well, but it was the old A9, I think, or A10 processor. It is pretty slow. This one, because it'll use the pencil and because it's got the A13 chip in it, it's actually going to be a significant upgrade. If you were saying from last year's to this year, 2020 to 2021, no, don't bother going from the A12 to the A13. So my daughter, who bought one last year, she's fine. She doesn't need to upgrade. But I think the 2018, because you're back on the A10 chip, going 3 generations up is actually a pretty significant change. So I would consider it. If you can if you can sell yours at a decent price and maybe pick up the new one with not much of a changeover, then I think it would be worth considering. The iPad might not be bad value if you need a new one on a budget. Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. The new iPad is actually seriously good. And they've really positioned this for the consumer level. So for schools, for people just taking one to work, it's the sort of thing that you can just chuck in your backpack and have with you. Like, to be honest, I'm pretty tempted to pick it up because the reason that I don't take this with me, I take my phone with me, but I don't take my iPad Pro, is that this is like a $2,000 iPad Pro and a $500 bloody Magic Keyboard. And yeah, if I have this in my backpack, I kind of feel, I'm walking around the city, I feel a little bit weird because it's a lot of kit to be carrying around with you. And that plus a phone, like a $1,500, $2,000 phone in your pocket. So I usually leave it at home, which makes it a bit stupid to have a portable device you leave at home. So in terms of something that you can just take with you, throw in your backpack and just take with you wherever you go, yeah, that's probably at least as powerful as my first gen. Yeah, I think that new iPad Mini is right up there, like with the new A15 chip. That's gonna crush an iPad Pro first or even second generation. Third and fourth, maybe give a run for the money. But yeah, we're getting to the point now where the iPad Air and the iPad Mini have now got better specs than the original iPad Pros. So they're taken over. They're taken over. Let's see if we've got any more things. Should I upgrade my 2019 iPad Mini? If I did, how would I go about getting adapters to make my setup work? Yeah. So if you've already got a setup that's using Lightning, the good thing about USB-C is because you would have had a Lightning to USB, all you need is something like this. So this is from Atola. I've talked about this on the show recently. This is a USB-C, and what it has here is USB-C power pass-through. That's the main thing that you want. You want to make sure that you either have a powered hub, or if you have a USB-C adapter, that you have USB power pass-through. So this will power up your iPad, and this will go into your USB-C port, and this particular one has a USB port, and it also has VGA and HDMI there. You can get a version of this that has 3 USB ports. So if you've got a setup that has a USB keyboard and an audio interface and a keyboard and mouse, then you could use something like this. And it's a lot more stable, and you don't need that $39 Apple Lightning to USB 3 adapter. So you should just be able to swap it out with something like this. These are about $15, $20, and then you'll be good to go. And the speed of that connection, USB-C, is faster. And as I said, it's more reliable, and you don't need to buy proprietary Apple stuff. It can be anything. Yeah, when I scroll up and start reading the comments, you start to sweat. Yeah, I'll throw you under the bus, Gary. No, you'll be fine. Android has taken a huge share of the smartphone market. That's why they're comparing now. Yeah. See, Apple, the good thing about Apple is they used to just say, we do this is good, you buy this now. And now they seem to be a little bit more defensive, a little bit more hesitant to just say, hey, we're good and we do this sort of thing. Yeah, I don't know. Xiaomi is the fastest growing smartphone outside of the US. They won't enter the US market as Apple will sue them. Paint coffee. Are they making knockoff iPhones potentially? Yeah, VGA. I know. How weird is it? How weird is it that has VGA? I don't know. It's a bit weird. All righty. So we're coming up towards the end of this one. I hope you had some fun and you got some value. If you did, the thumbs up button is where you need to go. Before we leave you here, I have some guides for you. So if you are in the market, I just need to go there, studiolivetoday.com/iPad. These are about to be updated. So once I get all the full specs, I will update this one here, which is my iPad buyer's guide at studiolivetoday.com/iPad. I'm already a member, so I'm using this in ghost mode. What do they call that? Secret mode. So it said, hey, you should join the mailing list. I'm already on my own mailing list. So they've got some videos here about my reviews of my iPad Pro, what's the best iPad for music production, and the 2020 models compared. Yes, we'll get some new videos coming out soon that will replace those. And here's my current recommendations as of September last year when we had our last range of iPads, of which iPad that I think that you should go for. That's obviously changed now because we've had the 2021 iPad Pro M1, which I haven't updated this with, and now we've got the two new iPads. So my job in the next few days will be to update this. If you're watching it in the future, it may already be updated, but there's a link to this guide down in the description. You can also go to studiolivetoday.com/iPhone. And we've got the same guide there. So this one, we've got my video there of why I bought the iPhone. So why I bought this one back in February, because I needed a new phone. And then I've got my recommended iPhones from February 2021. So this will be updated again as well. And both of these have these comparison charts, which I'll be a busy boy for the rest of the week because I'll be updating these because we've got a bunch of new stuff here. But these charts give you every iPhone that's ever been released. And we've got all the different specs in here, all the model numbers, all the processors, the amount of RAM that they all have, all the stuff that hides under the hood that Apple don't like. Apple will tell you that they have ProMotion and they have XDR and all the super liquid retina, but they don't tell you how much RAM they have. They don't tell you an easy way of knowing what processor is in each one and how to compare those. So we've got that covered. So jump over to those guides. They're linked down in the description there, studiolivetoday.com/iPad and studiolivetoday.com/iPhone. Does the iPad have a charging Magic Keyboard and how much RAM? These are good questions, and this is what I'm still looking into, Mark. So what I'll do, watch this space because I'll be updating the guide, and then I'll be coming back with some more videos in the future. Ed has a question on the USB-C multifunction adapters. Is it safe to use? Is it safe to use them to charge over USB and hook up to, say, a mini keyboard at the same time? I do, and I haven't had a problem. So as long as they have actual USB, anything by Atola seems to be pretty good. Any sort of Acru. Don't buy the super cheap no-name ones that you get on eBay because they might not have enough power pass-through. But this one has 60 watts of power pass-through. These are Toller ones, so they're absolutely fine. So anything that actually will pass through the USB-C, if it's just passing through the data and not the power, then it's not going to charge and it's going to be kind of useless. But now that we have another USB-C iPad, then I'll be diving into these a lot more because many more of you will be having USB-C with your iPad usage. Alrighty, that is going to do it for this one. So once again, there are links down in the description if you want to learn more about this. There's heaps of other videos here that you can check out as well. And you can go over to studiolivetoday.com to find all the ways that you can interact with me and the channel. I hope you got some value out of this one. Once again, hit the like button if you did. And as we say at the end of every show, please be kind to yourself, be kind to your wallet. If you're going to go out and buy some of this stuff, be kind to others and keep creating, folks. See you soon. Bye for now.